Peter Jackson wrote a heartfelt tribute to Ian Holm, the great actor who became an indelible figure in Middle-earth lore with his portrayal of the precocious ring-finder hobbit Bilbo Baggins. Jax the Wonderfling, feeling very sad at the passing of Sir Ian Holm. Ian was such a delightful, generous man. Quiet, but cheeky, with a lovely twinkle in his eye. Back in early 2000, before we started shooting our Bilbo scenes for the Fellowship of the Ring, I was nervous about working with such an esteemed actor, but he immediately put me at ease. Standing in Bag End on the first day, before cameras started rolling, he took me to one side and said that he would be trying different things in every take, but I shouldn't be alarmed. If, after 5 or 6 takes, he hadn't given me what I needed, then by all means I should give him specific direction-related story, and that's exactly what we did. But incredibly, his varied line reads and performances were all quite wonderful. He rarely needed direction. He gave us an amazing range of choices to select from. In the cutting room we settled into a very enjoyable 4 weeks, as we shot the first 30 minutes of Fellowship. One day we had Bilbo delivering an account of his early adventures to an audience of spellbound 3- and 4-year-olds, who were sitting cross-legged at his feet in the party field. We started by filming Ian's performance telling the story, but we also needed angles on the children reacting to various dramatic moments. But young kids get bored very quickly, and Ian and I quickly realized that they couldn't hear the same story over and over again, as we captured the various angles we needed. I suggested that to keep the kids' attention, he should make the story a little different in each take, adding extras bits, making stuff up so long as he gave us the essence of what was in the script. I told him not to worry and that I'd figure it out in the cutting room. Courtesy Peter Jackson, however, we also needed the kids to stay in place while we quickly moved the cameras around, from one angle to another. On a film set, quickly means 15 minus 20 minutes. So, while this was happening, and no cameras were rolling, I whispered to Ian that he was going to have to keep them entertained. I helpfully suggested that he could tell them other stories between shots. And that's exactly what he did. After a couple of hours, we shot everything we needed. As the kids were ushered off set, and the crew moved on to the next sequence, Ian said that he'd never worked so hard in his life. Over a decade later, we hoped that Ian would play Bilbo again for the opening scenes of The Hobbit. Fran and I had dinner with Ian and his wife Sophie in London, and he told us that he was very sorry, but he couldn't do it. Adding to our shock, he confided that he'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and could no longer remember lines. He had difficulty walking, and certainly couldn't travel to New Zealand. Always a private man, he told us that he basically retired, but wasn't announcing it. This was a blow because we had worked out a nice way to hand the role over from Ian as old Bilbo, to Martin Freeman as young Bilbo. I described this to him, and he liked it. I also told him how my mother and an uncle had both endured Parkinson's for years, and I was very familiar with the effects of the disease,